सोचा कि जब
Hi everyone. I think I am audible. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, this is week four of cybersecurity and privacy's NPTEL course. It's live interaction session. So I think someone has joined you, Shrikant Mandiram from Hyderabad. Welcome. So I think still there are people who are joining new. So I believe I should give the usual introduction that I give. Um,
Thank you, Mr. Harish.
yeah, hello. So we have three such weekly live interaction sessions. So these sessions they are taken by PMRF scholars. So PMRF scholars are PhD scholars across various institutes of national importance all across India. So one session happens on Friday evenings. The other one happens on Saturday afternoons. And the other one happens on Saturday evenings, I guess. Um, so these sessions are optional, and the objective of these sessions are to supplement what you learn in the main course, and as well as discuss some questions that are related to what was discussed in that particular week. And this week is week four. Right? And then these sessions
Sorry to
will,
interrupt, Harish. These
yeah, yeah, please.
sessions which were earlier I missed, would it be possible for to share the recorded
Absolutely no
session?
problem. Absolutely no problem. See, these sessions are only supplementary.
Yeah, yeah.
They you need to follow the main videos by Professor Matthews,
Okay.
and these sessions are recorded, and the recordings are available on the public sheet that they would have shared with you. I guess. Let me check.
Probably can you just ping in the chat that link so that I'll just take a look at it
You
if it is handy. Otherwise, you can do it later.
yeah, sure. Yeah, one time.
Since I missed earlier ones because I joined the course late,
Yeah,
so
you didn't miss much. So see, again, these are only supplementary. Um, so it's purely optional, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I think in the NPTEL page of this course, you should have a link. Let me just check.
Yeah, absolutely. And apart from that, Harish, today I got a mail from NPTEL. So in the link in the mail itself, there are three links for three sessions. So there are three recordings available.
Mm,
So if
mm,
someone need,
mhm.
he or she can ping here his or her email ID on chat. I will just forward the same mail to them.
Oh yeah, sure. But I'm also curious uh, where it is. I'm just taking a look right now.
Yeah,
Sure, you
actually
can.
it's on the portal itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
however, they are sharing 101 the sessions, recordings as well. I can share along with all whosoever need
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, please go ahead. You can definitely share.
Sure. I will
Uh,
after
Yes, sir.
the discussion. I will share that.
right. So you have problem solving
Sure.
sessions, right?
I will.
Thank you, Shobit. I just entered my email ID in the chat, meeting
Yeah,
chat.
yeah, I got it. Meanwhile, in between, I will just share that. No, no issues.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, I think this is the sheet. And the place where you can find this is if you go to your Swayam portal, you on the left side on the bottom, you have problem solving session July 2024, and that's pretty much where you can find it. You have problem solving session recording. So That's where it is for everybody. Okay. So did I miss anything else? Okay, this. Yeah, my name is Harish. I'm a PhD scholar at IIT Hyderabad, and and uh, and I'm also a PMRF scholar. So I'll be handling the sessions on Friday evenings. Probably let's get into today's session. Right. So we'll just have a brief overview of what was taught in this week's main thread, which was taken by Professor Matthews. And then we'll move on to answering some questions. And then we'll move on to continuing what we did last time. I was showing you some SQL injection. Again, that part is not going to be that is just purely supplementary, and you won't get any questions from that second part of what I'm going to tell you or show you. So you can just look at it from a knowledge perspective. And other than that, the first part, I'll discuss a little bit about what was taught and answer some questions. So I believe throughout the past 3 weeks, right, it would be clear to you that this course, cybersecurity and privacy, right, this predominantly deals with the management perspectives of cybersecurity. So we don't go specifically into a particular attack and then find out the technical nuances of the attack. We look at how, as an organization or as an institution, we need to be better prepared for a cyber incident or a cyber attack, and how do we manage the crisis better once the attack has happened, right? So you have been introduced to a lot of case studies. Yeah, and just a reminder, these sessions are recorded, so you can always uh, watch these at two times speed or more than that if it's intelligible to you, and you can save your time as well, right? So just putting it out there in case uh, Friday evenings are. Hello, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Yeah, sure.
I have one question regarding the course.
Yes, please.
सर ये जो एग्जाम है वो नवंबर में आने वाली है 26 को,
हाँ.
और ये जो एग्जाम है वो सीबीटी बेस्ड होगी या थियरिकल बेस्ड होगी?
CBT मतलब what do you mean by CBT?
कंप्यूटर बेस्ड टेस्ट होगा या?
Oh, again, okay. Question.
कंप्यूटर
I know
बेस्ड?
the exams are multiple choice questions. That much I know because last class someone was telling me that. And whether it's computer or paper written,
कंप्यूटर
definitely you'll have to go to an institute and then to a center and write the exam. Not sure, but I don't think it matters whether it's computer or not computer, right? You just have to tick the correct choices. That's all. So I think,
ओके, चॉइस बेस्ड क्वेश्चन हो गए यहाँ पर,
yeah, exactly.
और 100 मार्क्स की होगी ये एग्जाम?
Not sure. I think if anybody's taken previous NPTEL exams, you can answer this question because I have not. I'm new to this. So
Right.
right, you can always ask these questions to the management, right? You can ask the helpline of NPTEL. They'll answer you in the jiffy. Right? And
Right.
also,
Yeah,
I
as I
think
came to know from other sources. Yeah, as I came to know from other sources. So for computer based, probably for sure it is not computer based, not lab is required. So generally what happened used to maybe either the OMR sheet based or could be the A sheet having 4 options available. It's on that way only.
but you have to travel to a location, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's on the authorized centers. So candidate has to, join the examination center for that.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Shobhat.
And
So,
last question, sir.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
जो असाइनमेंट 12 हमें मिलने वाले हैं उसमें से फर्स्ट 2 असाइनमेंट है ना, वो मैंने अटेंड नहीं किए हुए हैं, तो नेक्स्ट 10 असाइनमेंट मुझे कंपलसरी अटेंड करना है, ऐसा कुछ?
Oh, can you just repeat the first part? You went a bit fast. My Hindi passing is a bit slow.
Yeah, let me answer the question actually, if you wish to.
Yeah, actually, I didn't understand the question itself.
Okay. Nice.
Dipesh, can you just repeat the question and then I think Shobhat can answer because I also want to understand the question.
Yes, sir. When I joined the course, then I will see the assignment. 12 assignments जो मुझे मिलने वाले थे, उसमें से फर्स्ट 2 असाइनमेंट है ना, वो मैंने अटेंड नहीं किए हुए हैं।
अच्छा,
तो
okay.
मुझे कितने असाइनमेंट अटेंड करने पड़ेंगे एग्जाम के लिए एलिजिबल होने के लिए?
Oh, how many do you have to attend to be eligible? Oh, you're asking how many you have to attend.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Shobhat, do you have the answer to that?
Yeah, I have that. So if you while registering for the courses, if you're just going through the terms and condition, so it is mentioned out of 12, it is mandatory to attend 8.
Okay, right, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Right. So we were talking about what this course is about, right? Management perspectives of cybersecurity. Although I'll try to bring in some specific hands-on experiences for you in this course. This mainly talks about the broader view of cybersecurity. Right? So you must have looked through some case studies in the videos in the class. So these case studies, some of these case studies were Target, remember, and then there was the case study of IVK that was spoken about, right? So the point to note here is that you have all these organizations, right? So I think the professor made it very clear in the class, but I would like to stress on this aspect. We all talk about cybersecurity, right? So it's a huge buzzword. In fact, a lot of you would have joined the course because it has cybersecurity on it. Because I think as of today, it's just either cybersecurity or it is artificial intelligence. So these are the two things, ML, AI, right? So these are two things that drive the Indian youth towards computer science, let's say. So cybersecurity is basically a buzzword, but when it comes to organizational security, right? So you see a lot of such incidences happening, target, IVK. So the one pertinent question that you can ask is, why do these things happen? Correct. So even though there is such a huge stress on cybersecurity as a whole, you still have such incidences happening even today. So why is it that you can't? Why? What is the reason for this? What is the reason for this? For these incidents? Can we build a world? Second is, can we where such incidents never occur? Meaning a completely secure world. So, what are the reasons for these kind of incidents? If you have opinions, you're free to unmute your mic and you can basically speak, or you can also put it in the chat. Whatever are the reasons that you feel that such kind of incidents has happened, in spite of so much emphasis on cybersecurity, why do these attacks still happen? Why are organizations still not able to solve the problem? Right? I'll give you a few minutes to just think about it, or you can. Yeah. Okay. So the very first reason, I mean, this is basically my extrapolation of whatever I've understood about cybersecurity. So the reason why such kind of incidences happen is because a completely secure computing environment is a myth. Okay, so this deals with technology. Good, yeah, right. Lack of cyber awareness in employees and clients. Good, that is definitely there. You're perfectly right, Komal. So, completely secure computing environment is basically a myth, correct? And this basically answers the second question also. And this is the fundamental root cause of everything. The root cause is technology is never completely secure. Okay? Tech is never completely secure. So this is where it starts. This is the root cause of all cyber problems, correct? Technology itself is the root cause for cyber problems. Right? Okay, identification of vulnerabilities, correct? Okay, so now Komal has basically said the other reasons for why such incidents happen, correct? So lack of awareness, and then this lack of awareness in employees and clients, and no identification of vulnerabilities. Correct? So while these two are definitely valid reasons, again, I would ask the question, what is the root cause of this? The root cause of this is there is no organizational planning. There's no proper no proper planning. Okay, there is no proper organizational planning. Okay, now once again, this statement can offshoot a lot more questions. Questions like, again, let's say why? Why is there no proper organizational planning? Why? Why do organizations fail to plan and make employees aware? That is also a part of plan. One plan against cybersecurity for cybersecurity and to keep the organization secure and safe would be to increase awareness in employees and clients. And the second is to identify vulnerabilities, to audit your environment for vulnerabilities and to do penetration testing and fix those vulnerabilities. Correct? These are all aspects that come with proper organizational planning. Oh, okay. So why again? Why is there no proper organizational planning? So Komal has basically said that if there is more security, it will be difficult to use. So you're saying more security means it is difficult to use. Perfectly said. But this is not the main reason why there is no proper organizational plan. So what Komal is basically saying is the more increased security, the more hassles it increases for the users. So every time you log in, you're not required to just put in your username and password. You also have a multi-factor authentication where you have, I mean, this is in case of increased security. So basically what you're saying is in normal case, you just have to put username and password. Now imagine in a high security environment, in case if you want to increase the security, so you have to put your username, password, um, and you also have to use your OTPs. Let's say that you get on your mobile phone, correct? And probably you'll have fingerprints also, correct? And if you have to do this for every operation, it definitely does ensure security. Yes, 100%. But it also increases hazards. While this is a very valid point that Komal has said, this is not the fundamental reason why there is no proper organizational planning. Why? Why do organizations or companies, even though they know the risks of cybersecurity, at least they know that there is a risk that things could go wrong, still get hit by such attacks? So the answer is lack of incentive, or I should say lack of immediate incentives. So what does this word incentive mean? It means rewards, let's say. Okay. So this seems to be the main reason why companies or organizations skip over security protocols. Okay. Now you can always argue and say that if you are implementing higher security, then you are protected against attacks. Isn't that not incentive enough? Correct? The answer is it is incentive enough, but it is not an immediate incentive. It is not an immediate reward. Because you see, organizations fundamentally run on monetary aspects, right? And so monetary means funds, money. So this is agreed upon, right? You take any organization in this world, in this current economy that this world has, right? So the way it's structured, you need money to run any organization, be it a government organization, be it a government organization, be it an NGO, anything. Even NGOs need money because if you need to set up an office, you need money, right? If you need to set up a computer system, you need money. Although the money comes from donations, money is money. Money is money. So basically, the fundamental driver of all these organizations is monetary. It is money. Correct. So when it comes to money, both in organizational terms and in your personal and private life, you tend to allocate funds, right? So in a month, let's say for groceries, allocation of funds, let's say in personal life. So in personal life, you tend to allocate, let's say, 10K for groceries, okay? And then 5K for travel. K means 1,000, okay? 10,000 rupees for travel, 5,000 rupees for for travel, and then another X for eating out, let's say. Correct? You have all these things, and then another X for uh, entertainment. This is your personal life. So in a way, we allocate funds to do certain activities in your personal life as well. Similarly for organizations also, they allocate funds. So when they allocate funds, uh, it's what will be the priority, right? So when they allocate funds, what will be their priority for allocation? Exactly. So there's this term called ROI that Veera Prasad has just said. We'll come to that. So what will be their priority for allocation? You basically give more funds for those activities that gives more profits, right? So this is how an organization grows. An organization grows if there are more profits, correct? And so basically, if you're going to allocate some funds to some department in the organization, you'll probably allocate it to, let's say, the web development department, or let's say, or the HR department, which will increase the robustness of the organization and ensure that there is a higher Yeah, sorry. So these will ensure that there is a higher ROI, which is basically what Veera Prasad has just said. So what is ROI? It is return on investment. This is a return on investment. So what is investment? Investment is the funds that you put into a particular activity. So this is the funds that we put into a particular activity, and the return from this is the return here basically. So this is a self-explanatory term. This is a return on investment. Now the question is, you have 1 lakh rupees, just for example. Okay, you have two options. You are the head. You are the CEO of the company. Correct. You have a board meeting which talks about how much funds you want to allocate for different activities. Now, one opinion is the board meeting, some of the board members, they say we need to scale our operations. Scale meaning increase the size of our operations. So for that, what you have to do? They say you need to hire more people, more resources. Correct. There is another person who is an intelligent person who knows cybersecurity. He says, no, 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 no. Before scaling, we need to fortify our computer systems and networks. So this means increase security. Correct. Now, as a CEO, you have an option. You have two options. Listen to guy number 1 or listen to guy number 2. You have only 1 lakh. So what would you do? How much would you split? Will you give 70K here, 30K here, or will you give 10K here and 90K here? Correct? Because all these operations, they cost money. Or will you give 50K here and 50K there? So what is your opinion? You can put it on in the chat, or you can even speak out if you have any opinions on this. Now you are the CEO of the company. What will you prioritize? You know that if you follow path number 1, if you give more money to path number 1, you will see more immediate returns. Your products will be better, and people will appreciate it more. People will buy your products better. Correct? So what will be the split? Any of you can put it in the chat, or if not, we can discuss the multiple splits as well. Okay, Shrikant is saying 50-50. Okay, so 50-50 because you want to satisfy both the parties. A very diplomatic approach.
No. The thing is, if the development or the development takes all the money and they develop and there is no security, the customer will complain later. So that would be again a problem, which will come back to you anyway.
Right, exactly.
Because so if the security is also been taken care, so you will satisfy the customer instead of the two internal parties.
Right, but I'll ask you a question, a counter question here. The security attack does not happen every day. Security attacks happen once in 2 years, 3 years, or sometime when someone finds a vulnerability and somebody hits your company, right? So a more immediate return on investment for the CEO, if he's thinking from a monetary perspective, would be to put more money on development, increase the features in the application, and make the customers happy. Because what is the customer going to care about in terms of security? Because is that a question that even comes up in most meetings? They're like, okay, fine, give me this feature, give me this drop-down box, give me this, is what the customer asks, and you give it. Do they ask, is it secure? Is that even a point of discussion in most of the client meetings? Maybe nowadays it is, but previously it was not the case, right? So as Shrikant said, 50-50 would definitely be good. And again, the answer to this question is there is no correct answer because it depends on a lot of factors. Okay? A lot of factors.
Yeah, so as a CEO, it's not one sales or
Yeah.
development or HR or customer facing or revenue based. So it's not one man's job. So as a
Yeah.
CEO, he has to execute the plan, the management plan or the business plan, which has a long-term view rather than a short-term goal. So in this case, if
Right.
we are splitting 70K into the development and 30K into the security, what will happen is, the long-term goal will be, will never be achieved. So
Right.
that would be the problem.
Beautifully said, actually. So you brought in a good point. What is the long-term goal and view of the company? Correct. So a very prudent CEO like Shrikant will take the right decision. So the point I'm trying to make here is most companies, right? Most organizations, they want to show higher and higher return on investment. So now the question is, what is the return on investment of putting funds into cyber security? What is the return on investment? You increase the security, correct? But does that give you more money in return? Does that?
No.
Exactly. So it does not give you any direct money in return. There's another comment that says it depends on nature of the business, whether it's a heavy data-driven business. Some decision needs to be taken based on those criteria. Exactly. It's the question is a very high-level question. So there are a lot of factors there. And then that's per year. So I use and investing even 1 lakh. Inadequate. Okay, let's see. Right. Okay. So Swapnil is going into greater nuances. Yeah. So it gives. We'll come to what Swapnil said. That's going into a lot more nuances and details. Beautifully said. Thank you. Komal is saying it gives reliability. So basically, what Komal is saying is, you put more money into cybersecurity and then you sell it. You tell the clients, it's more secure. Nobody can do anything to your data. Nobody can do anything, of course. So that is the marketing aspect of cybersecurity, which is in play in the current trend and the current environment. You can definitely use it, but monetarily, you adding an extra feature, okay? Feature versus increasing security. What gives more money in the short term? Let's say in the short term, definitely adding an extra feature. So unfortunately, in the pursuit to show more return on investment, to show more growth of the company, which is always defined by how much profits you're making, drives people sitting on the top to neglect this path too. they neglect it. And one of the main reasons for why it is neglected is because security attacks don't happen every day, but your feature is going to be there every day. Security attacks happen once or twice, but when it does happen, the point is when it does happen, it's going to destroy you. It's going to destroy the reputation of your organization. It's going to destroy the trust that your customers have on the organization, right? So, but then the CEO thinks, okay, when it happens, let it happen, or he generally is in the viewpoint that okay, it may not happen, or I hope it doesn't happen. Let me roll the dice. Let me take a chance. Let me go for short-term gains. Then I'll take care of security later at some point of time. So in the same sense, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. You generally don't see many organizations, especially small organizations, giving much importance to cybersecurity. So usually the fund inflow is more towards this side and not towards the other side, right? And Ajay has put a statement. Okay, get the trust, more probability, continuity of business continuity plan. Okay. Okay, business continuity plan. So, but again, business continuity plan comes into picture only when there is a crisis, only when there is an attack, correct? So, so basically, to sell it, you have to say to the customer that attacks will happen. The attacks are definitely going to happen, but we can stop it. So this again is not that easily marketable or sellable as we think it is. So essentially, we were talking about this question, right? Why do these kind of attacks still happen? And that is because the majority of concentration is towards towards activities that give you more return on investment, immediate return on investment. But what people fail to understand is attacks can devastate the organization. Basically, one attack, right? One attack can completely nullify all of this. Because what is an organization or a company without the trust of its customers? It's zero. So once you lose something, and then it's gone. Recently, there was a crypto exchange called WazirX. Correct? You must have heard of this. So WazirX, it is a cryptography. So it is a crypto market. So it was a crypto a broker. Yeah, it was a crypto broker. That's right. And the crypto broker, and they pretty much lost some millions, some 220 million, I think. If you have the correct figure, you can pull it up and you can let me know. So essentially, now that company is done for. It's destroyed. So whatever it had built up over the past 6-7 years, it's gone. Do you think anybody will go and sign up for WazirX right now? No, you pretty much won't. Not to say that they did not invest in security. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the impact of an attack can completely end an organization as well. So this lack of awareness, right? This feeling of nobody's going to attack my organization. Why would I have to take care of it? So this tends to tilt the scales towards this side, but that can have very detrimental effects in the long run. So again, we were looking at it the perspective of why does that happen, correct? So what is the reason for these incidents? Okay, so now we know why these things. Okay, let's explain about cost balancing, right? So yeah, if you want, you can speak a little bit about that aspect as well. If you want to specify any particular statement regarding that, Veera. Yeah. So what is the reason for that incident? And the second question that you can go ahead, Veera, yeah, please.
Yes, sir. This is length of disruption versus cost. Cost to recover and cost of disruption. Matthew sir has explained. There is a crisscrossing point called a cost balance point, at which you can both continue cybersecurity as well as lessen the disruption time.
Right,
To
right.
lessen
So
the
yeah,
disruption
exactly.
time,
So
you need more cost. To lessen disruption, you need more cost. Or if you want to
exactly.
reduce cost, there is length of disruption time is more.
Correct, correct. Yeah, I'll just draw whatever you're talking about on the screen. Right, but this is directly available in the video, so you can always go and check it out. So this is what Mr. Veer Prasad was saying. Cost of disruption. This is business downtime. Correct? And this is cost to recover. Cost to recover. Right? And there is this cost balance point. Something like this is what I think
Yes, sir.
that's exactly what he's talking about. So again, yeah, this goes more into how much can you estimate the cost of an attack that might happen. So you basically have to estimate all these things, right? So it's not that you know exactly what can be the impact of an attack. So you basically make certain estimates, and then you come to a point where you put in that amount of budget, you can say, to some of these activities. Right? Okay, this is going more into details, so I'll get back to the other question that that we had, which was, what is the reason for these incidents? Correct. That I think we've answered to a reasonable extent why that is the case. Secondly, so can we build a world where such incidences never occur? Can you build a world such instances never occur? So if you think yes, then why? If you think no, then why? I think that's, if you think yes, then how? Sorry, why and how? If you think no, then why and how? Correct? When I say we build a world where everything is completely secure, it means the computer system is secure, the underlying computer system is secure. Has anybody thought of this question? Why do these vulnerabilities even exist? Can't we build a perfect system from the scratch again? I would like to give you a minute to think about it, and it'll be interesting to get your perspectives on this. Is this even possible, first of all? No. Ajay said no. Okay. No. Now, the next question is, why no? One layman answer is, so far nobody has done it, so the answer is no. Right? Because if the answer is yes, then somebody would have done it by now, correct? That was one way to look at it. Anybody feels it's yes? Is it possible?
I would like to give the perspective. It's like,
Yeah,
all
sure,
the
please.
systems are all the systems like, OS, database, or development application layer, the front end, everything is a software. So all the
Correct.
softwares will have bugs in it.
Mhm.
That means, there is some lack, something is lacking in it. So the security guys who try to theft the data or do the attack is through those bugs or the open ports or all this kind of gateways. So since the other systems are buggy, obviously you have the system cannot be secure.
Okay.
And
So
each
yeah,
system
sorry.
is like there is an input, there is an output. So since
okay.
there is an entry in it, then obviously there is an exit in it. So, so when you have an entry, obviously there's no screening of saying that you are a good person or you're the right person to enter, right? So anybody can enter with the disques or anything, and then pose the threat to the system.
Okay. Okay. So great answer. So the justification for why no is basically, I think, in one ways, he says that all computer systems have software running on it. And all software have bugs. Correct? Do you agree with this statement? Do all software have bugs? Is it always the case?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's assume in an ideal world, you are writing a software without bugs, just for the sake of a thought experiment. Let's say you are in a world where software does not have any bug. Okay, you have this hardware, and then the software is running on top of that. Correct? You have the input. Okay, goes to the software, hardware. Then you have the output as well. So now in this world, can you call the system secure? In this world, is the system secure? Think about it. So information security, data security is fluid and dynamic and versatile. And saying that is that hijackers are always trying to have a step ahead, though it doesn't always mean that hijacks can always happen, but they will remain so. Right? Yeah. So we'll so that is one way to look at it. But what I'm trying to ask is, if you, as what Srikanth has just said, that softwares have bugs, and these bugs are vulnerabilities that hijackers or attackers tend to exploit. Right? Now, imagine the software does not have any bugs. Can you call this system secure? Yes or no? Yes or no? It's a thought experiment.
No.
No again.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Why no? How can the attacker?
It is not only vulnerability of software, but also you should consider other equipments of the software like firewalls, then routers, etc.
Okay, you're close to the thought that I'm trying to express. Maybe it can be slightly rephrased. So what you're trying to say for no is, see, we are assuming that the input is always going to be through the software. Correct. But that may not always be the case. In a world where the software is completely secure, meaning whatever input you give, I will not let you. Oh, great points, Swapna. We'll come to that. That's actually a good point. Let's analyze that statement. I think there are a few statements in the chat that we'll have to analyze. Your previous statement as well, right? So let's talk about that. But let's come to phishing later because we've been talking about phishing a lot in the past few weeks. So let's come to that. But let's solve this thought experiment. So even though your software is secure, I mean, the assumption is the input is always going to come through the software. The man behind the machine is under psychological engineering. What does that mean? Psychological engineering? Is it you're talking about psyops? Maybe you can explain that a little bit more. So now what the attacker will do is, what is stopping the attacker from hitting the hardware itself? That's basically what Mr. Veera Prasad was trying to say. I think it was Veera Prasad who was trying to say, right? So even though your software is secure, the attacker can physically access the hardware. Right. If he has physical access to the hardware, then the system is not secure. So the more you close the vulnerabilities or the holes and everything, the less opportunities that an attacker has. The attacker has less opportunities, correct? Less vulnerabilities. Sorry, my handwriting is pretty bad. Less vulnerabilities, which means less attack opportunities. But just because attack opportunities are less does not mean attack opportunities do not exist. So the attack opportunity here is for him to physically access the hardware. Now I can again ask the same question, and I can say that this hardware is also completely secure. Let's say it is completely secure. My hardware is completely secure. Is it then perfectly secure, the system? Yes or no? If I'm securing the hardware also, then can you say the system is completely secure? Nobody can do anything to it. By the way, the adversary has access to the hardware. The answer is no again, because if your secure hardware has, this is just a figurative, or sorry, not literal example, a figurative example. If this is the circuitry of your hardware, let's say, okay, secure circuitry. All the attacker has to do is cut this part here, and then make the circuitry go like this, or do something, change the transistors, or do something like that. Yes, Ajay, please go ahead.
Sir, as you said, if you have a system which is completely secure in terms of software and hardware, am I right, sir? As you said,
yeah.
You are saying
that
this
is a
thing?
thought experiment. Yes.
Okay, if you are saying this thing, but sir, as we have been taught in the class and the very little information, so anything if it is in air or in internet, so like the general concept of security, if you apply the principle of security, I mean in terms of VVIP security, this in a physical manner, but like in physical manner, no one can say security is 100 proof secure. So same aspect applies on in terms of information or digital security. And what I said, sir, earlier, the psychological engineering means there is always a man or human person is also there to look after the things. When someone is there to look after to operate, undoubtedly, sir.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay.
That was the thing, sir.
Okay. So I'll just rephrase what Ajay said. So his basic opinion is nothing can be 100% secure. That's his final summary and premise. And he says that because anyway, these hardware, they are in some way or the other, either directly or indirectly maintained by humans. So in that sense, there is an added layer, not just the hardware, but there is a human layer as well, and that always makes things insecure, right? You can always target spearfish, you can do all of those aspects. We'll come back to phishing stuff again. So, but yeah. So the point I was trying to make is, let's forget about in the air information travel and everything. So we are narrowing down right now. We are coming to a point where we've left the software up. I'm leaving the in-air transmission to software and everything. Now at the hardware level also, you can change the circuitry and you can make it in such a way that you send the information to somebody else. It's possible, not practical, but it's definitely possible. So in a way, security, 100% security is a myth. The only way you can stop, you can make something 100% secure is to not invent it at all. So that's basically the premise. You do not invent anything if you want 100% security. Live in the Stone Age, which is why security will always be a continually evolving process. So one person, I think it was Ajay. It was Ajay again, right? So he basically said it's fluid and dynamic. So that's why you create something and then attackers find vulnerabilities in it, and once they exploit it, the user knows. And by the way, it's a 0-day attack. So an attacker finds an exploit and uses it. It's a 0-day attack. I don't know if you know these terms, but I'm just putting it out there in case you'll be able to correlate it when you come across these terms. Okay. So again, so these vulnerabilities can be exploited by by attackers, and once they exploit it, the user also knows, oh my god, my system is exploited, or my organization is infiltrated because of a bug that I did not know existed. So you came to know about that bug because that attack even happened, right? And then you come up with ways to solve that bug, and then the attacker tries to find more bugs or more holes in software, correct? And that's why he said it's a fluid and dynamic, versatile in nature. And yeah, so again, so 100% security is a myth. So with this premise, the final summary or the final thought is, organizations need to take cyber security seriously. Correct? The more awareness that happens regarding security, the more organizations would want someone who knows how to implement cyber security policies in the organization. So such people will be in demand. And that's where this course will probably help you in being ready to, to, to deploy a security uh, framework for your organization, right? And yeah, and especially as Ajay was saying, you have the human levels as well, because an organization is basically run by humans. So definitely, if there are humans, there will be mistakes, there will be slip ups, and your bugs will become even more exploitable. Speaking very generic terms, but we have real world case studies that we have gone through in the course as well. Correct. Right. So before we move on, there is this interesting statement. Let us think about this statement as well. So he has said phishing doesn't happen because of a bug in the system. Okay, let's explore this. Is this statement true or false? So is this statement true or false? Let me also think about it. Okay, so you're saying it is true and it is true. Okay, so I can see why people go for true. So I'll go for false and I'll try to justify why it is false. You can always say it is true because of course you get somebody's username and password and uh, you are able to enter into it, correct? So the easy answer is true, but I can also make arguments for why the statement is false. The thing is, when you have such login systems, right? Have the username and password, correct? So a fisher gains access to both of these and they're able to access the system. My argument here is, since we know both of these are attackable, there should be a third authenticating factor, which could either be his fingerprint, some biometric, let's say, to make the system secure. If the biometric is not there, then I'm calling that itself. I'm reasoning out that without biometrics, this system is not secure. So therefore, phishing does happen because of, you can say, lack of complete security. Right? So this is my argument to say why the statement is not completely true. Although not having biometric is not a bug. Agreed, I agree. But you can always make an argument to say that this statement is not really true because you can also normalize this second factor authentication and say if a login system does not have two-factor authentication or a biometric login or an OTP, let's say slash OTP, then I'll call it a bug itself. So once you come to that state of security, this will become normal. You're like, okay, it doesn't have two-factor authentication, or then it's a bug in your login system. Correct. So you can see how we can argue about these aspects. But yeah, the direct answer here is true. With the current definition of phishing, the answer is true. So you guys are right. I'm just trying to give you different perspectives of thinking about why this could be false as well. So the answer is true. That's a great example. But you can always argue this also. Anybody has any counter arguments to my argument here? Biometrics, OTP. So you can always normalize it, right? Okay. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll be back. Yeah, Vignesh, you're right. Actually, I mean, in the end, my conclusion was yes, you guys are right. The answer is true. It's not a bug, but imagine a world where any login system needs, I mean, it's common sense to add two-factor authentication just to avoid this phishing attack. So, it's so normalized that if you that if you implement a login system, if without MF multi-factor authentication, then it could be called a bug. So, so this word bug is also a relative term. Someone forgot to implement MFA. That's it. So in that way, that's what this is just a very, just for argument's sake, I was saying this. So the answer is true again. Okay. So I think now let's look at some questions. Probably. Wait, did I cover everything? Yeah. So I think this is the motivation for what we call. So whatever we discussed right now is basically the motivation for contingency planning. Which is what this week was about. You can always go back to the videos and you can take a look. Right. So contingency planning is of three types. Right? This is once again. Okay, so Ajay is basically, okay, we're back in the old statement. Ajay is making a further argument that my false is also not false, it's true. Because hijackers can follow up the psychological pattern. I think what you mean is maybe they can ask for the OTP also from the victim itself, right? And do the phishing attack. Definitely possible. Yeah.
Sorry.
Continue, yeah, sure. Say. Go ahead.
That's it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, so this is also another argument against the false statement. But I'd argue, how can you replicate biometrics? How can you fish a biometric? Any thoughts?
No, there are many
sir.
fingerprint scanners. You can just scan it and then rescan it.
Okay, so you're saying that we can scan someone's face. Okay, let's forget about face. What about fingerprints?
Sir, you are absolutely right, sir. Recently, I have studied. I don't know whether it is true or, I mean, there are some highly high resolution cameras or similar devices or equipments that can take the picture, and the fraudsters or the hijackers, they may use that data, or I mean, maybe the iris detail or the, but what I read about basically the fingerprints, na? Like everyone is showing their two fingers like victory sign. So they said ki in that way the biometrics can be read out, and then the similar pattern can be make out, and then they may use that finger biometrics as a, I mean,
Interesting.
I mean, opener.
So this must be an emerging research area, right? Like how can you infer someone's fingerprints from afar without physical access to the person? This is interesting. Okay, so but again, yeah, I think the argument for false tends to break down further after this discussion. And Shrikant, you were trying to say something. Shobit and Shrikant, you were trying to say something. Yes. Right, but again, yeah. So my argument tends to get further destroyed with this discussion. So yeah, for face you can always. But has anybody been able to bypass Apple's Face ID with their? I think they use IR, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Have they been able to? Yeah, OTP is
Maybe.
better than biometric. Yeah, just hold your thought 1 second. OTP is better than biometric, Vignesh, but the OTP can always be leaked by the victim itself. So I'm destroying my own argument here. Can definitely be leaked, right? So they're able to fish for something. They always call and ask, something has happened to your husband or wife. So give me this OTP so that we can claim the insurance. Something like that they could say. So again, OTP is definitely less safe than biometric. Anyway, so Srikanth, you were saying, or Ajay, you were saying?
Oh, sir, one thing only, sir, as you already said, like this aspect, digital security is such a such an evolving thing. Like the cloning, you can clone the. I mean now that thing is not possible. I mean, but yes, studies are going on, as I said. But
Yeah,
maybe the
it's,
cloning very soon that will happen.
you mean face cloning, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Like they show in Mission Impossible and all that, right? Um, hmm. Yeah, but at least as of now, it's not there. I think in widespread use, very highly sophisticated, maybe CIA or someone probably they might have these tools with them. So we don't know, but yeah, you're right. True. So good information today. So there are such approaches as well. So you basically scan someone's fingerprint from afar and recreate it. So although all of you, I don't know if you're in college or if you're in your work, I believe people would have done this experiment, or just to put their attendance, they tend to create a copy of their fingers. I mean, when I say copy, they put glue on their fingers and take out the imprint, and that basically becomes that person's biometric, right? So this is also a very crude and easy way of doing it. But yeah. And Srikanth, you were trying to say something. Do you still have a thought?
No, no, I'm okay.
Okay.
I mean, see, we have seen films doing that,
Mhm.
but we deep fake what you have, and like if you go back to a film called from Charlie's Angels, so that's
Charlie's
where
Angels. Okay.
yeah, so that's where what happens is one person actually takes out the fingerprints through glass, and then the other person takes a photo,
Okay.
like
Okay.
pretty close by a photo, and then they actually embed that on the contact lens. That's how it
Oh.
happens.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the
Interesting.
iris part of it.
Right. Right. But I think that's always been in the film domain, right? Like, see,
Oh no, no.
definitely
If it is there in the film domain, that means the theory is put forth. So the other things, take it.
right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Definitely. Theoretically, yeah, it's definitely possible. So yeah, I think again, this once again comes down to the
See again,
fact.
the way the problem is, like the security systems are also built. Okay,
Mm, mm,
so
mm,
when
mm,
they are built based upon certain assumptions, saying that okay, the person will come, the person will put
mm,
the
mm.
put print,
Right.
biometric print, and he will look into the the iris part of it, a device.
Mm,
So that is an assumption. Before
correct.
that, only so now whether you are getting like just a common joke that's going around is like
Mm,
everybody says
mm,
fingerprint is like your thumb impression, right? Whether it is
mm,
right hand or a left hand.
mm,
So yeah, like a joke. So wife tries to open the mobile while the husband is sleeping with right or left, all the hands,
mm.
all the fingers. Actually, he uses the leg thumb.
Okay,
So,
good.
so it's just that. So the assumptions are there based on these things. So that's the reason. What will happen is like people try to crack it, or people try to have deceptions or
Mm,
diversions to make this happen.
right, right, yeah. Good joke.
So
So
though it's a joke, it's actually quite possible. Like
yeah,
uh,
pretty much. Yeah.
so
Who would have
so
thought?
so while you are basically registering a particular user. So if you have a malicious intentions, then obviously you can dupe the system.
Exactly. You're right. Perfectly right. I think the takeaway for me from your discussion was so you brought up a point. So when you build a system, you assume a particular set of procedures, right? You basically assume that a person is going to go from A to B and then to C. But a malicious user, okay, this is a good person. But a malicious person, right? He might go from A and then go to C and then go to B. So essentially, he will try all combinations and permutations and possibilities to break the system. So as security designers or as security planners, um, we have to think like an attacker.
Yeah, so what will happen is, like, if you're accessing any website, okay, it's a very simple thing, everybody knows it. So if you go to a website and then actually type the whole URL, so basically you'll say harishsa.com, right? But if you have a particular folder down in the subfolders or a submenu, so you can put front slash, put your some details like bank account, and then put front slash, then put one more. Obviously, if you have not put some security on top of it, then anybody can access all the data that is there in your website. Or if your website is I can copy the text, then I can simply the copy text and put it anywhere, right?
So you basically can access domains or folders inside the domain which you are not allowed to access by just inputting that into the URL.
Correct. I mean, I would just give you a small example over here itself. Like, we have so many people, 18 people are here. So how many of you know in the VPN that let's say you're trying to access somebody else's system, then what you can do is you can just say the IP address and then put $. Then you can access the entire D drive itself.
Okay, you're talking about a network system.
Correct, in the network
system, not a VPN.
Yeah. So not many people know this. That $, somebody can access it, right? That is a problem.
Okay, so I don't know exactly what is $, but I think what you're trying to say is in a network file system, right, where you're able to access a shared folder, let's say, or you're able to access drives on other people's systems. So that's in the network folder. That's the network shared domain. So you can access folders which you are not allowed access to also by using this $, symbol in the URL or in the access identifier, let's say. I see.
Correct.
So I think you are looking into those kind of attacks where you just you try to just it's basically like accessing information that you're not allowed to access by trying multiple good combinations and seeing which one hits and which one does not hit. Of course, with some logical assertion that okay, fine, this is going to work, this might not work. Of course, I understand. But yeah, so basically,
so
very
basically in the same example what you have given, A to B to C, the procedure what you have mentioned, the malicious person A C to B. So let's say you put a warning message saying that this is not for restricted access. The malicious person will always think how to access this. So this is something more valuable than what is accessible to me. So
right.
That's how things will happen, and then he will come up with a lot of creative ideas to break that restriction.
Combination. Exactly. Right. I would just like to add to your thoughts. So usually people think, when it comes to hacking, you see a lot of movies, right? Since we're talking about some fun stuff. So in movies, how does hacking happen? So hacking happens, one guy is sitting in front of the computer, and then he has a soda can beside him, and you on the screen you basically have some complex uh, what do you call, graphics going on, right? Some crazy cubes moving, and then blah blah blah, and then finally it says access granted or some stuff like that. So actually, this is not how hacking happens or hackers do it. So hacking essentially happens by them sitting in front of a computer and trying multiple ways, possibilities, breaking their heads, spending sleepless nights, and doing it. It's a very boring job if you don't get the results, right? That's how it happens. So this is basically movie hacking. So I just got this in mind. So essentially, you try multiple input permutations and combinations. So ABC becomes ACB, and then you can also try BCA. So this is what the hacker basically does, in a very abstract way. So this is but a great discussion, and I think today I'm also learning a lot from the discussions. This is how it's supposed to be. Thanks a lot, guys. Right. So I think back to contingency planning. So contingency planning is formally divided into incident response planning, disaster recovery planning, and business continuity planning. Correct. If you had seen the video, I think it would be clear that these are plans that are put out for three levels of attacks, let's say. So this is small, in very abstract words. This is small, this is medium, and this is large. That's pretty much what this is. So the example that Professor Matthews gave, I think, was very small incidences. The example that he gave was very small incidents, like which pretty much does not need you to shut down any system. You can just recover it just like then and there. Right? Then you can go with incident response plan. So if such attacks happen, then you go with the first option. You put this plan into action. If it's the second one, disaster recovery planning, where it basically shuts down certain systems and you cannot run certain systems, then you go for second option, which is basically a medium kind of attack. And there is even more bigger attacks that basically completely incapacitate a particular facility, correct? Which means you cannot run it in that particular area or in that physical location. You have to physically shift the location. Now, for example, there was an attack called Stuxnet. This was an attack on nuclear uranium enrichment centrifuges, enrichment facilities, enrichment facilities, where they basically use centrifuges. Centrifuges basically spin and they enrich uranium. I don't know the exact details of that, but centrifuges. I believe this was Iran. I'm not sure, but I think the USA, I believe, sent a virus or a malware or whatever you call it, and they incapacitated all of these centrifuges, where the whole enrichment basically stopped. So whatever they were already doing also got destroyed, because I think the oscillations or the spinning the rounds per minute or whatever it is, right? So it kind of destroyed the whole stock, let's say. So in which case they basically had to completely shift site. So this is an example for business continuity planning. So how do you ensure that the business continues or the organization continues doing whatever it's doing, right? So these are three different plans that are used. And by the way, so contingency planning happens. It is a response. It is a reactive measure, basically. So an attack, this is before attack, this is after attack. Okay, AA. So AA is let's say like AD, and then BA is like BC. So you can keep it like that. So anything that happens before the attack, anything. So before the attack happens, you won't know what kind of attack is even happening. So any measures that are taken before the attack are proactive measures. And anything that is done after the attack are reactive measures. So contingency planning falls in this category, where you plan out what you have to do when something happens. Because usually right after an attack happens, it is fully filled with panic and people running like headless chickens, with not knowing what to do. So if you have a plan in place, right? If you have a particular plan in place, then all you have to do is follow A, follow B, follow C, follow D. Then yes, you are reasonably out of trouble. Correct? So this is where contingency planning comes into the picture. Correct? And the whole of you can go ahead and watch the rest of the videos. It's pretty much talking about the next topics, which are offshoots from this motivation for why we need contingency planning. Right. So now let's look at some questions, and then let's conclude today's session. We'll look at the practical aspects of things. I think we have a lot of time for that. We'll dedicate one session to that later also. Right. Just quickly. Okay, I have to write the questions today. God, okay. So which term is used to describe detailed statements of what must be done to comply with policy? Right? So is it A, policies, B, standards, C, ethics, and then D, governance? Which term is used to describe detailed statements of what must be done to comply with policy? To comply with policy. So basically, the answer is not. It's not A, because you're basically complying with the policy, right? Yeah, answer is B, because in the question itself there is policy. So policy cannot dictate a policy. So it's basically, the answer is B. It's a standard. It's the standards. Correct. Now, exactly. Correct. So 2. Management must use dash as the basis for all information security planning design and deployment, right? So management must use dash as the basis for all of these. C and D. Standards, procedures, policies, best business practices. Right? Management must use. Now here comes policies. So standards is something that is done to comply with the policy, but a policy itself is the basis for all the planning that you do, right? So these two things. Yeah, correct. These two questions should bring out the difference between standards and policies. These are very highly definitional, so you can always go back and look at the videos. So again, now, third question is, which type of planning ensures that critical business functions continue if a catastrophic incident or disaster occurs. So basically, what type of planning ensures that critical business functions continue if a catastrophic incident occurs or a disaster occurs? Catastrophic means huge scale of an incident, right? An attack incident. A, B, C, D. Business continuity planning.
Business continuity planning.
Yeah, right. So where is this coming from? This is coming from here. Correct. This is PCP. I don't think I'll have to put the other options even. So the answer is business continuity planning. Okay. Okay. So now the actions taken during and after a disaster falls under A, impact assessment, B, risk management, C, crisis management, D, both A and B. Okay, what are the answers?
C.
Yes,
Crisis
the
management.
answer is 3. Exactly. It is crisis management. Because the disaster is currently occurring, okay? And you need to manage the crisis. So it's basically a crisis. Impact assessment and risk management. Uh, uh, you could make an argument that risk management is also there, but risk management is basically proactive in nature. And impact assessment happens way after the attack has happened. So what was the impact of the attack, let's say, right? So crisis management is the correct answer for this.
Sir, impact assessment is before attack, isn't it, sir?
Is it? Or am I?
Impact assessment is before the attack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, for an example. Yeah, for an example.
Can you give an example? Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, I'm the BC manager, so I can say that. So
Oh,
actually,
okay,
while we invoke the business continuity plan, so while just invoking or preparing the business continuity plan, there are two things. One is BIA, that is business impact assessment, and definitely the risk assessment. So BIA and RA is a prerequisite while you creating the BCP. And yes, BCP is invoked when the crisis happens. So in the case of crisis that is being declared by the organization, so BCP is invoked and necessary action that are being taken care of. So action, for example, could be, for let's say, for example, in there is a internet outage, let's say is a blackout. So there are RTO defined basis that, so BIA something, so business impact, I would say BIA is done basis what are the critical assets for me and how much risk I can take care for that. So these two parameters, this is how actually happens.
Okay, but my argument is when you assess the impact, so you either look at the perceived impact of an attack, or you look at what has actually happened after an attack. So impact assessment in the sense that Veera Prasad, you were trying to say something. Just let me just hear all the.
No. Actually, example could be impact means you're taking one of the scenario while creating the BCP. So let's say one of the critical assets for me. Let's say.
Okay. I see. Okay. When you're doing the planning itself, you are assessing the impact of it, right?
Yeah, it's the let's say financial implication probably. BIA could be what is the implication?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Nice. Okay. So the next question kind of goes a bit away from the organizational aspects. So this talks about access control list. I wonder why. Okay.
Hi, sir. I am Morgodeep. So before moving forward, hi.
Sure.
Before moving, am I audible right now?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Before moving forward, I would like to ask you. I would like to ask a question which in the previous question. So you have already said that it will be the crisis as the crisis management, right? Or the crisis management. So my question is all about if disaster is happened suddenly in the event, which is impacted on CIA tried like a confidentiality and confidentiality. Okay, so what will be the best possible way to manage those risks? Is it the risk management or the crisis management? What will be the best possible way, and what tools is required for the crisis management?
Okay, so you're basically, I think the question that you're asking is, the second question that you asked is what are the tools? But the first question, which is the best way? Is it crisis management or is it risk management?
Yes.
Okay, so all right. Which is better? You're asking me which is better, risk or crisis? Anybody else has opinions on this? They feel free to share your thoughts. I don't know which is better. So obviously managing your risk is better.
I feel like crisis is kind of a risk part only. I feel like crisis is part of a risk analysis only. So once your risk goes beyond certain limit, it's kind of a crisis only. So risk analysis, I think, is better approach because we identify
just to think, I think crisis. Is risk that has been actuated, right? Crisis is the live form of risk, correct? Right, sir?
Sir, do you have any example? So we need to identify
Actually,
about the post. Sir, my question is, do you have any example to identify the crisis management instead of the risk assessment, risk management? How we can identify which one would be the best for like to mitigate the risk?
How?
Okay, let me
Yeah,
take it by
please.
an example.
Yeah, sure.
So let's assuming a scenario that happened few days back. Let's say CrowdStrike, blue screen. So actually,
Yeah.
some of the organizations declared the disaster, or could be the crisis. The crisis is the situation that is being declared by the management, and there are some prerequisites or the assumptions for that. For example, if situation happens, so I started in the morning, I faced my blue screen, I informed IT team. So when they got the 10, 20, 50 ticket against the same issue, so management just awakened and started working on that. But the thing is, now the situation is risk management. So risk management means what is the risk appetite for me? So number one, I have nothing to do with that scenario because it was completely the problem that occur in the Windows machine via CrowdStrike, and there was my role was automatically about tends to know the action that we can do. I can change the file text syntax of exe that was impacted due to the CrowdStrike impact. So again the thing is, we did the risk assessment. So while doing the risk management, we have identified our critical business processes. Let's say the healthcare is a critical business for me, so we prioritize that and we started working on those machines only. So risk management or risk will give me the direction. What is the risk appetite for me? And definitely I can continue, I can plan it accordingly. What are the critical business processes for me? And my priority will on that domain only.
Okay, and all this we do it proactively, right? So we basically have based on a risk appetite.
Actually, what happens sometimes when the crisis happens, a crisis is being declared. So most of the time we have nothing to do. Let's say in the case of ransomware that we faced a few years back, we were almost choked for a few days. So our business interrupted. But only the thing is, we have identified, again, we did the risk assessment, we have identified the critical business processes. We avoid to say ransom to those. We have regenerated our infrastructure and started working on the priority that we have already decided while creating the BCP. So BCP gives us the direction. What are the critical businesses for me while doing BIA, that is business impact assessment. So BIA actually the building block to create the BCP. So we have identified critical business processes. We defined RTO, RPO for those business critical processes and implement in case of disaster or in case of crisis when it happens. Otherwise, it is not of use. BCP is just a template that is.
Can I give a small one sentence in which you can infer easily?
Please.
Risk management is just a strategy. Okay. Crisis management is strategy or approach. I would term it as workflow or whatever you call, like the different
I
terms.
want to add a different opinion to it.
Second,
I want to add a
second
different
is one point. Let me just conclude.
Sure.
Yeah. So the risk management is a strategy, and the crisis management is an action.
Right. Correct.
In a very, 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 very simple terms, this is how I feel. Risk management is a strategy to run the business. Crisis management is to save the business when it happens. That's it.
Right, but the question that I got in my mind was, after Argadeep asked these questions, so is crisis management also decided in advance? I mean, do you is it ad hoc? Is it ad hoc? It is ad hoc, right? As far as I know, crisis management is ad hoc. Once something happens, we do something regarding it, correct? So those actions fall under crisis management. But do we decide that in advance? No, we don't, right?
Yes, we do. We
do, right?
Yeah. So see, like in case of a fire accident, okay, the risk management is you have a path for all the employees to exit, right? The safest path. No, do not use the lifts. All these instructions are given. So that is risk management. But the anti-inflammatory, all the devices which are kept in each and every floor in the offices or any building, how to operate that is a crisis management. But at the same time, you will say, okay, if the fire is this much, this fire extinguisher cannot handle it. Okay, so what will happen is, like, in the initial phase, the fire extinguisher can be used, but as a parallelly, you will have an action to call the uh, uh, fire bridge, or like fire department, to get all those things and and control the fire. Okay, so the crisis management is actually that, but the risk management is, like, keeping all this planning things, like a safe exit path, the safest area. All this is risk management, where you are minimizing the risk of losing the assets, losing the humans, losing the property, and everything. But in the crisis management, you actually try to uh, stop the fire itself.
Right. So, in a way, crisis management depicts aspects which are basically a call to action, right? Crisis management is a call to action, basically. Yeah, Sahu, please
One
go
more
ahead.
thing.
You wanted to say,
One
okay.
more thing.
So my opinion on
Just
this
agree.
is,
Yeah.
so my opinion on this, like, I am from an industrial automation background.
Okay.
So risk management for me is a complete, whole subject. There is a standard of IEC 61511, safety instrumentation system for process industry. So risk management is not a qualitative subject. Risk is high, is low. So I have been doing the risk analysis in a quantitative manner. So risk is defined as hazard into probability of occurrence. So hazard you define like something which has a potential of harm. So like I have a reactor and temperature goes high. This is not a risk. This is an hazard because it is in potential to harm the property, the people, and the environment. But when I calculate what is the probability of occurrence, like what is the chances that it occur, and when I multiply these two factors, the severity of hazard and its probability of occurrence, then I'll get the risk. So for an example, like I'll take a general example. We say that risk from train accident is lower than the risk of a bike accident. Why? Because train accident, although have more severity of consequences, but the probability of occurrence of a train accident, at least in India, that we feel is low. Bike accident, although the impact is less, the severity is less, but the probability of occurrence is high. So this is how we do in process industry is before starting any project, we'll do a risk analysis. The first step include in risk analysis to identify all the hazards and their probability of occurrence. Then there is a company metrics of risk, acceptable risk, how much risk we can accept. Like you will have on the one axis the loss of humans. So first aid injury to 10 people, or hospitalization injury to 10 people, or death of several people, like this. Based on this, you have certain numerical factor, and you'll take on that. You'll identify what is the probability of occurrence or what is the severity. 10 lakh rupees damage to the company property, 1 lakh rupees damage to the company property. Again, you have certain factor. The impact area is within the unit. Impact area is within the plant. Impact area is 1 kilometer of surrounding the plant. Again, you have something mathematical factor. Now you got a number of risk due to the reactor pressure, right? This is the risk. That's the number 3.2, the 8.9. Now, what I need to do is I need to find out the countermeasure. Each countermeasure has a numerical factor, like by what factor it will reduce the probability of occurrence or severity. So suppose I have a tank with 100-liter diesel filled in it in my plant.
So
What
just to
simply I
clarify,
can,
this countermeasure will fall under crisis management, right?
yes, but this we have to do, like the question was when we'll do it. So this The controlling the risk is we do at the start of plant. So very simple example. I have a 200-liter tank of diesel in my plant, and I will say like, what is the hazard? Possibly the leakage in the tank. Suppose I calculate the 3.8 factor is there in this hazard. Now, what simply I can do? I can build a rectangular area which is 10% more than the volume of the tank. So if my volume tank is 10 liters, then I'll 100 liters, then I'll build a secondary containment which is of 110 liters. So even if my fully filled tank is burst, again it will remain to that surrounded area, the secondary containment we call. So this all, like in our project here, industrial automation, we do these things. So we got certain project, we have to identify the risk and we have to do the countermeasures. And there is again, we say that ALARP, as low as reasonably possible. So you cannot mitigate complete risk. So you will do which is reasonable to doable. And beyond that, you have certain back-end thing, which we call it as a crisis management. The term is not exactly the crisis, but we say that, okay, still there are some residual risk, which we think is unacceptable. If this thing occurs, then we'll do this. I don't know how it relates to IT, because that's why I'm learning cybersecurity. But this is how we do it. And so it's basically a properly managed subject, very quantitative, documented process. IEC standard is this, and that's how we do it.
So a lot of experience, I think, you've had, and I think Srikanth as well, and Shobit also. Thank you. Thanks a lot for these viewpoints, because I'm not from this background and I'm learning a lot from all of your experience as well. Agadeep, you had another question, follow-up question, right?
Yeah,
So you can ask.
I,
Probably they'll
if
answer
it's
you better than me.
even if register is falling under the crisis management, so do you need to follow the standard protocol, the security framework like ISO 27001 or the NIST security framework? Is it the mandatory to follow each and every policies, procedures, and the guidelines, which will be protect our robust infrastructure?
Mhm. So you're asking, is it mandatory to follow all this?
Yes, it's mandatory to follow the ISO 27001 like standards or any NIST security framework. Is there any
Is it-
particular is there any particular standard is there apart from this? So I would
Yeah.
like to know about that.
Yeah, let me answer that.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, just one line. Actually, host is very busy. We are discussing other topics, but the answer
No,
is
absolutely
ISO
no problem.
27.
This is how it's supposed to
Yeah.
be, actually. We are supposed to learn from
Yeah.
each other. Please go ahead, Shubha.
Yeah, exactly. So ISO 27001 is about the information security management system and cybersecurity requirements. It's not only the BCP, first of all. So whenever we talk about the ISO 27001, it's talk about the holistic approach of information security management system requirement. And how we do it? It's with the help of ISO 27002, which is code of practice. Number one. Answer of your question is there any standard? Yes, there is a separate standard, which is ISO 22301, which is for the business continuity management system. BCP has a standard, different standard, which is ISO 22301 that needs to be adhered to if any organization is willing to.
It's for BCP, right? ISO
Yeah,
22301.
But I think his question is it mandatory to follow all of this? Is it completely mandatory? I think I've had other opinions,
I
but
think none
please.
of these are called as these are called as guideline because these are not mandatory. But few things are there. Like from my experience, one thing is sometimes government make it mandatory. So for an example, in India, if you have a hazardous industry like in that category, then your plant or your system should be complied with IEC 6151. Although it's a guideline, but it's mandatory by the government. So if the government audit happen, it found it's not following or you are not adhering to this regulation, and you don't have a third party validation that you are adhering to this guideline, then they may cancel your license. Another thing is, for an example, in my current company, we sell equipment. So our equipment data, again, it's a production equipment, some reactors. We are putting data on the server of the plant. So right now, suppose an industry has 4 or 5 plants in India, and they want all data on the centralized server. What temperature, pressure going on. So probably their better technical people sitting at a central location get all the data. We need to push data there. So what company will say that your system should be complied with this and this, say ISO 27001, the standard, then only will purchase it, or then only you will bid for it. So it's not mandatory, but see, customer doesn't have any experience on how your system is secure or not. So they got a help. They got a standard. So they'll tell like, this is the standard. We know it is internationally recognized and it's a good standard. So does your equipment comply with it? If it's complied, then we believe that it's, it's cyber secure or information security is there in your system. So that's how
what
that
I
it
gather
become
is,
mandatory for us.
makes sense. What I gather from your answer is, so there are some of these which are mandatory, some of these which are actually not. You can run a company without the other standards as well.
I think most of these are guidelines.
Guidelines, right? Some of these are required
The force
to obtain
has
licenses.
mandatory.
Yeah, I see. So when we translate that into the cyber world, right? We're talking about cyber security. I don't think as of now there are any mandatory guidelines. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are there any? I'm not sure. I'll get back to you on that, Giti, because
Yeah, exactly. I understand. The different the organization is following different like guidelines and protocols.
Oh, you're talking about defense organizations, right? Like DRDO, Bell, and all that.
Yeah, let me.
You're saying different organizations. Okay, I heard
different
it as defense
organizations.
Okay. So see, there are some standards being followed. For example, if you look at DRDO or defense companies, right? They have to comply with certain security protocols, and that directly ties up with the cybersecurity risk associated.
But following them and getting them validated is two different things. So for a certain product, we follow certain guidelines. But when we say that we are regulatory under this, that means a third party independent company has to verify and certify you that your product is compliant. Like we see CE marking on the electronics product. So it's not like I know what CE marking is and I build my product and put CE mark. There are independent organizations. You have to get your certificate validated from that, design validated from that.
So
and
then
they'll
an
allow
audit,
you
right?
for the CE
That's
marking.
basically an audit is what you're talking about.
It's when we can say that it's kind of, like, for an example, in Europe, if you want to send any electronic stuff, it should be CE mark. So again, it's kind of a mandatory thing. But again, to the same question, for cyber security, is there any example where something is mandatory?
Yeah, that is one. So you just brought up Europe. So you've heard of GDPR? You must have heard of GDPR, or you might not have. So it is a data regulatory policy, so which basically mandates companies to handle data in a particular way. The exact details of it, I'll probably look at it and. So Europe has these standards and policies which are mandatory, without which the company cannot operate in Europe. So this policy it kind of hit certain companies. So they said we won't be a part of Europe if you bring up such strict stringent standards. So it has something to do with third-party audit of your data. So something like that. So essentially, yeah, some of them are yes, some of them are no, but India mostly no. So we should head towards a path where all these things are mandatory. But if it is mandatory, then it increases the difficulty of running an organization. The cost of running an organization will increase.
Cost also.
Yeah, cost will increase. So all of these side effects are there. So the ease of doing business decreases because you'll have to go and stand behind a regulatory body to ratify what you're doing. It's all of these side effects, offshoots are there. So again, we go into those domains, but great discussion. So the next set of questions that I had are regarding access control lists. So I think that is going into the detail, that is going slightly into the computer science aspect of things. So we'll keep it for the next class, right? So we can conclude this session today. But great discussion. Thank you so much, and your experience really speaks, all of you. Thank you so much. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Great discussion. Bye. See you.
Thank you all.